right there. All right, welcome. We are now recording, so this is live. So I wanted to start really quickly, just talking a little bit about some of the challenges that you're facing in this season. So first off, we're all facing lockdown, and we're all facing not being in person. But maybe specifically, what are some of the other challenges that you've seen that maybe are unique to, maybe not unique, but might translate to others as well? What are some of those challenges that you see? I'm just going to invite you at this point, just unmute yourself and weigh in. So this is what I don't want, is the long pause. So don't make me single somebody out.
All right. Well, I think this is probably universal across the board, but all of our students, regardless of where we're at right now, at least anyways, where you're located, all of our students are on WebEx, Microsoft Teams, whatever, all day. And if we look at the studies, they'll suggest that a 1 hour of a Zoom class or Zoom meeting takes the same type of mental capacity and energy as about a 2 to 3 hour meeting. So at least probably double. So they're on that for 4 to 6 hours a day, depending on their course load. And it's for the most part with our own teenagers and our elementary student, it's a terrible experience for them. They hate it. So then to go back, unless you guys are doing something that is just extraordinarily creative and unique and nobody else is doing, it's like, why do they want to sit on for another hour and a half, 2 hours, however long, on a Zoom call, which there's in reality very little opportunity to have meaningful engagement and interaction.
That's good. Somebody else.
I think one of the, that was bound to happen.
No, go for it.
I think one of the greatest difficulties, and you alluded to that a little bit, Wayne, was just we're all in this season, but working from home is really difficult. And so a lot of us have kids. Yeah, I see Brian pointing, like my son is over here playing right now, and I can hear like him, whatever, is listening to Paw Patrol, and it's just difficult. And sometimes you're trying to have that meaningful interaction with a student or a Zoom meeting or whatever, and then your kid comes up and they're grabbing your hand and they're pulling you away, and you're trying to find that balance between really caring for your students and everybody else like that, but then also still being a good parent, because it's not right to just be like, go away, like leave me alone, like, you know what I mean? So trying to find that balance can be really difficult, and staying motivated and just staying creative.
Yeah, as a parent of 11-year-old, I found this lockdown a little bit better in the sense of at least they're doing online school, so I can be over here doing my own stuff. But the first one was next to impossible to get any work done. But yeah, that's a very good point. Somebody else.
So I was going to say, I find it challenging just as a pastor right now, knowing who I'm actually responsible for. And what I mean by that is beyond the actual youth program. So one of the things my boss always reminds me of is that I was hired and I'm called to pastor people, not just run a program. And so the reality is there are students who are not connected on just a Friday night. They're not connected to the youth ministry, but call Parkwood home, that I'm still responsible for. And it's hard in a regular season. I think, unique to us, the size of our church, it's hard to know who's actually connected to the church, but might not be connected to the actual youth ministry. And so it's difficult in a regular season, especially now that we're solely on Zoom. When we met on Sundays, I could kind of keep an eye out for young people and try to make connections. But now that I don't have that luxury, it's like, who is still connected to Parkwood that I'm responsible for, but have no connection with? It's just like, how do you know? You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. That's good. We'll take a couple more.
Yeah, I think for me, just engaging junior highs in a meaningful way. Junior high ministry seems quite difficult right now, especially the 11 and 12-year-olds that aren't allowed to be on social media yet when everything is online. So trying to help parents navigate that, thankfully, I guess a blessing in disguise is that parents are getting more used to online calls, so they know how to navigate that a little bit more, but still trying to get junior highs on to something, even just to community build, is really difficult.
I would echo that too, in saying that, now even if we try to create some sort of content to put online, we're fighting against every other version of online entertainment. It's like, do they watch our YouTube video that's like this 10-minute message, or do they watch, some guy playing Minecraft for 3 hours? I don't know. But it's just the reality of just junior high is so difficult.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's interesting. Even as I'm watching again, so I have a junior high in my home, so it's great to see. And I hate to expose her youth pastor is on the call, but what specifically in regards to school, there have been times I've walked by and it's like, oh, she's in something else. She's listening to the call but doing something else, and she's chatting with her friends or doing something different, and you're like, hey, get back to school, like you're participating in this. And I can only imagine how much of that would happen with youth as well, or whatever you call your student program. But yeah, it's interesting. What is interesting to me is obviously not all of the challenges are universal, but a number of them are. Kirby, did you want to weigh in? You popped up on my screen, so I'm going to make you weigh in now.
Yeah, well, thank you. Yeah, I appreciate to be here. I'm new, by the way. I just came in 2 months ago in our fellowship. So what's up, guys? So so I understand what Alex Lopez really said. The lack of connection with them. And as for me, I just came in here in Bethel, and right now I just want to connect with all those youth, and some of the young adults as well. And I came where everything was about to just blow out. And so now making connection is very hard, because now they're trying to get to know you, and I'm trying to get to know them. So the approach is very special. And those Zoom call, however, are pretty interesting. But I found, it's about, for what I figured, really like making it lively, because they spend so much time on Zoom all day having lectures, and so now when they do want to go to Zoom, I realize it's about making it lively somehow, and them making them participate in some ways. So far, this is where I'm at. But what Alex said, I really feel that as well, because getting to know, okay, who's part of my youth here, especially when I'm new to the church and all that. So yeah.
Jackie made a great point in the chat that I would just add on, and she talked about missing out on body language being hard, just because like in a meaningful conversation, you can read a person's body language. And I feel this myself, like on a Zoom call, it's really easy to act together for 30 minutes and not necessarily, like in an in-person conversation, you just find yourself breaking down a little bit more, or having a little more tells on how to read the person and what's going on. That's definitely significant. And it's challenging too. Like, I think, Kirby, that's such a great point. And even thinking of your circumstances, as well as some others on the call, like being brand new and trying to find, how am I going to connect with these students? Like, I think of, in the past, it's like, okay, I'm calling Billy, but I know Billy likes Minecraft, or Billy likes football, or I know exactly how I'm going to begin a conversation and start to get him to open up, versus, okay, now I'm looking at a list that has a name and trying to connect with that person. Like that's a little bit crazy. And yeah, Greg, just echoing that in the chat is absolutely fair. So the purpose of talking first about the difficulties is to help us realize kind of we're all in this together. And sometimes I think there's value in recognizing that the challenges we're facing, we are not the only ones facing it. And some of the stuff that we're all going through and having to deal with is quite difficult, and that's okay. But knowing that other people are being challenged with that, I think is helpful. I wanted to ask, just to flip the script a little bit, can you give me some highlights from this season? What are some of the things that maybe you've discovered about ministry, or about yourself, or about just reaching students that maybe has been a positive or a highlight? I'll let anybody who wants to weigh in.
Well, I think as much as the challenge has been with the way that that we're connecting, the way that we're doing ministry, particularly, I know a couple people mentioned junior high. I think one of the blessings and the benefits within, like one of the opportunities that have come out of the obstacles has been that it's forced me, perhaps some of you guys, to change and reevaluate how we do youth ministry, how we're connecting with our youth, how we're connecting with parents. So in part, how we're doing online ministry right now, we've learned we're doing some things differently now because we learned from last spring some things in the spring that we weren't doing well. We thought we were, but it just wasn't connecting. But also, once the dust settles and whatever a new normal looks like moving ahead, there were changes that needed to happen anyways. We were just either weren't sure what those changes were. We knew something needed to happen. We knew it needed some tweaks. We just weren't either sure what, or maybe maybe I wasn't brave enough to actually, we identified some of the things, but weren't willing at the time, at least, to take the risk and the challenge with that. So COVID has forced us to do some vision realignment and some shifting, kind of with the paradigm of how we're doing things, and that may not have happened, or may have happened too late if everything was just status quo. So it's lent itself some good conversations, and getting some more impact or input from our students as well.
Nice.
Say okay. Go ahead.
Oh, sorry.
You go first, Highway Church.
Okay. I'm Jackie, just so you know, Highway Church. Anyways, so the first lockdown, I don't know about you guys, but Zoom did not work for our youth at all. They just really didn't like it. And so trying to connect with them over youth and trying to do a youth service over Zoom just wasn't working. So kind of practically, I have completely shifted everything for this lockdown. Now, we were doing in-person youth ministry, so like prior to this lockdown. So I think that actually kind of set us up for, like, at least we haven't been doing online this whole year kind of thing. Anyways, so basically what I'm doing now is I do little drop-offs. So just a little brown paper bag, and it's a drop-off once a week. And there's a little scripture card, and it's one scripture. It's a different scripture for everyone. And basically, we've just turned it into a small group discussion of like, why is this verse relevant? Because when it's a full message online, I feel like that's way too much. But when it's more of a small group discussion, they're more apt to talk about it. And so actually, I had 5 youth on that hated Zoom the first round, that the last 2 Zoom calls, they've really enjoyed it. And I'm like, we're only going to do an hour, and they stayed on an hour and a half to talk. So I think that's a really big success. I just put, like, popcorn, hot chocolate, candy, stuff like that inside, just so that, there's something, but at least they know. And even the ones that, this is the crazy thing, even the ones that didn't hop on the Zoom call, I still heard back from all of them saying thank you, like some kind of connection with them, which wasn't happening like in the last lockdown. So I thought that was pretty cool. So I'm pretty happy about that.
Yeah, that's awesome. Somebody else, some highlights. What are some things you've tried that are successful? Sorry, yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I'll go. I found that like some of the pros of Zoom and online meeting was like I live in Toronto, so I have a lot of students who commute to our church even from other places in the GTA, and a lot of times it's hard for them to get to a midweek program during the week because it's, the parents are getting home late from work, they have homework, whatever. So I've been able to connect with a lot of students that commute, that live a little bit further, so that's been really nice. I found also students who had gone away to university, like who just graduated out of youth ministry. I was able to connect with them on kind of a new way they could join into our youth and young adult like Zoom calls and stay connected in a way that's kind of fresh, where I might not have been thinking of them in the same way as being able to participate if we'd been in like an in-person program. And then another thing was I feel like I have had a lot of visitors coming on. I don't know if anyone else has experienced that, but a lot of kids will just send the link out to their friend and say like, hey, you want to join our Zoom call? So the number of new kids coming in has actually not really changed for me. It's been a nice, consistent, especially of my younger youth students. And I don't know, for some reason for us, we haven't had a huge drop off in our junior high. We've had really good engagement with junior highs. I struggle more with the older high school students to be interested. They're the ones that want to have their screen black and, you know, are you the guys actually there? I did though, just to end, have a funny experience where the junior highs are all on, and I could see someone with glasses. You can just see Fortnite like reflecting in the glasses. It's like, guys, if you wear glasses, I can totally see what you're doing. So you might want to take them off at least. Get another method to hide what you're doing. So I usually call them out when I can see that, but pretty funny.
Yeah, that's awesome. Go ahead, Katie. That's awesome.
Yeah, so I don't know about the highlights for Zoom for us. Like Zoom, I'm not techie, but some highlights for us is that it's really removed the platform of like leader on the stage, pastor on the stage, because everyone's walking through the same thing. And so it levels the playing field to have like a really authentic and genuine conversation. And those have opened up a lot of different conversations for us. Like, how are you doing? How are you really doing? Me too, you know, so that it's like a me too mentality. And so you're walking together versus having like a team of people dragging young people along kind of thing. So we've seen that as one. And then another one we've seen is just like almost a raised expectation for students who love the Lord and are taking their life seriously with Jesus. They've had to grow up so that they're not just coming to an event that you're hosting or just attending a church. They're not like bench warmers anymore. They actually have to take initiative in their faith, and they have to do it at home. And so we've seen some students really struggling with the transition with that. Like, oh man, I never knew how to do devotions unless it was handed to me, or I never knew how to like pray well until I had to do it on my own. So we've seen a lot of independence, which is awesome. It like transitions them from like young, treating them like kids and allowing them to experience like an independency of young adults within their faith, which could be really good in a few years when they actually need to go to university and that. So anyways, so that's two big highlights that we've seen.
That's awesome. Yeah, it's good. Jerome, you had your hand up next.
Yeah, I think a huge thing that we've seen for a highlight has been doing, so we have youth on Friday, but we've been doing a Tuesday night meetup where we literally, all we do on Tuesday for a full hour is we play a video game, whatever they want to pick. And our group has been playing Among Us. I think a lot of your youth have been doing the same.
Yeah.
And so we hop on Discord so we can do a voice call and we can hear everyone. And then we hop on our other device and we literally play for an hour, which goes by super fast. And a lot of kids are inviting their friends who would never step foot in church on the Discord call, and they're playing Among Us with us for the hour. And then near the end, I give them the plug about, you know, we have youth on Friday night. We have a group chat on Instagram where we communicate together. And then some of those kids who come on Discord or come play Among Us are now coming to youth online, or they're at least talking about church, or they're sending me a message asking questions. So I think doing something, I know it's hard work, doing an extra thing, but I found, at least for our group, adding something that might not be super long, but something extra to help them throughout that week to bring that connection. Even what Jackie's doing, I think is incredible. Like meeting them, showing up, even showing your face is huge.
Yeah, that's awesome. Carla.
Something that was a highlight for us, or I would say more for me, something I was learning about myself in ministry is I know that I'm a little bit obsessive about doing things my way. I don't know if anybody else is like that. I'm just going to be honest. And this has been a season that that has totally pushed me to go, I can't do everything all at once, which kind of seems funny because you'd think you'd have more time being at home. But that's actually been a huge highlight because it's forced me to actually expect students to own their own ministry. So like the students are the ones that I'm trying to have now make the content. Like they might not necessarily be preaching or anything like that, but they're the ones that are like totally running it. So last night was our first youth night of 2021, and I just don't want to do Zoom. Like I hate it so much, except for this call. I love this call, but every other call I hate it. So I'm not like anti Zoom, but I just I can't do it anymore. It's just cringy for me. So we did like basically we did a YouTube live show, but we treated it like Jimmy Fallon with like a bunch of different like funny segments, and I literally just stole them from him. I just went on YouTube and watched all the Jimmy Fallon I could and found the ones that were appropriate and funny, and then I had the kids make videos and they would send them in to me, and then we would play them live, and like they like went ballistic over that. And I went to bed with a smile on my face for once after a youth night, after about, a whole year. And it was really awesome. So the highlight of 2020 was, Carlo, you don't have to come up with all the good ideas. Like let the students own it, let the students do it, and give them a place to shine. So that was a big win.
Yeah, that's awesome. Good job. Jaira.
Hi, I'm Jaira from Christ for Life Ministries. So it's been really fun. I won't lie to you. As soon as pandemic hit, I knew, the city life would slow down over here in Mississauga. So we kind of switched things up, and we got really we got really intentional because we have a lot of ours just graduating this year, and it's gonna be like the worst grade 12 graduation because they don't see nobody, right? And these are like schools of thousands of kids. So like we're like, okay, we literally have them for one more year. What can we do? And we just got really intentional, and we stripped everything back, and we brought it, not that it wasn't before, but we definitely talked about Jesus way more, and we've been pushing them literally to the limits of like, hey guys, we're like, I won't lie to you, I'm not the greatest at taking notes sometimes. We're taking notes, we're journaling now, and we're really like discipling them, because we're like, these kids are gone, and we're gonna make this the most memorable year yet. So we're doing a little bit of a lot of what a lot of my awesome colleagues have said. So we've been gaming. We don't play Among Us, actually. We play COD, because because they play COD. We played Among Us once, and everyone's like, that was okay. Let's shoot each other. And like I get it. We can have a discussion about that. But we're playing COD. We have our mics on, and we're literally just chatting. And we actually do COD most of the time before Bible study or after. Like either way, they know there's a Bible study coming, there's discipleship coming. And I've seen these kids who have said very little talk so much more about their faith. And the most, we just started back youth up last week, and it was sad because one of the kids actually had to leave early, and it was but when that kid left, everyone else was like, hey, these notes are great, but we don't want to spoil everything. Can we wait till he comes back next week? Right? So I'm seeing this connectiveness. Yeah, sure, that's a word. And we're developing our own relationship, and we're just chilling. So I'm with Carlo. I hate Zoom. So I am very fortunate that these city kids all have Apple products. I'm like, we're just going to FaceTime them, because if you're a friend of mine, I'm very annoying and I love to text you or just call you straight up. So we're like, okay, it's time. And we just go FaceTime, and we just FaceTime them. And instead of having Zoom, I won't lie to you, the Zoom format is a lot cleaner, but I think the cool part is we're intentionally calling them now, and we're intentionally being like, hey, what's up? And we're seeing their face, and we're just chilling, and we're literally chilling, I think. And we're just like, hey, what's going on? You watched the game last night? Like, we started following stuff they like on social media. So like sports, their favorite sports teams or people they look up to. And I know I'm talking a lot because I talk a lot, but I think this is my favorite year because I've never been so close with these kids before, and I'm actually sad to see them go. And I told them, if college is online next year, this is a bad thing. So I kind of want the pandemic to keep going, because I said, hey,
we're gonna cut you off right there. Declaring you want the pandemic to keep going. Come on.
No. I said if you guys have like college online or university online, I could use your help online next year, and you're just an automatic leader. It doesn't matter because they've grown so much already in a span of a few months that it's hard not to reward that.
Yeah, absolutely. It's good. Thanks for sharing. Jade, you're up. I feel like a radio talk show host or something.
Good. We launched in September a gaming ministry. So we now have like an official night every week where they have a Discord and they all chat. So it's been similar to what Jerome said, that there's just been like an influx of new faces because it's something that's so easy for them to invite their friends to and something they want to invite their friends to. So we've seen just a really big success in that. And our youth ministry has always kind of been more girls than guys. But we're seeing that we have way more guys that are coming to our youth now and they want to get plugged in. So it's been a really big success for us. And yeah, it is, like Jerome said, it is an extra night and it is a lot of work, but it's definitely been worth it.
Yeah, that's good. That's awesome. Yeah, go ahead, Brian.
Featuring Lucia here a little bit. My leadership team and we've been so intentional. We actually at the end of last year, we went through a bit of a transition of leadership team where we lost some leaders, but by God's grace, we also gained some leaders. And one of our biggest challenges was even how to get our students to get to know these new students that I love, that we love, to get that kind of deep connection. And so one thing our team and I have really been focused and intentional on was making sure that these evenings, these connect points, these whatever it is, it's a dialogue conversation and never a monologue. Because I know even for myself, I get just disconnected. I'll take maybe 2 minutes of a monologue portion and just throw the other 82 minutes of that message away, And so I just want, conversations, build up, questions, frustrations, maybe even doubts of faith, like those different moments. And so we've been really intentional about just creating those opportunities of dialogue. And trust me, some of those calls have been, chirp moments, when you put out that question and they're just sitting there picking their nose, turning off their camera, whatever it is, but you just kind of let it happen, and then eventually they realize like, oh, that's the kind of culture, and then one student pipes up, and then you're like, okay, great, and then it just starts getting the snowball effect. And and maybe this is an encouragement to you guys here. I was talking with one of my students the other week, and I'm always so hard on myself and how I run our ministries and all that. And, even that phrasing in itself, I'm like, oh, that sounds terrible. But we're always so hard on the way that we serve these students and everything. But I was talking with this one student, and she was just sharing how frustrated she is with online school and all these other things. And so I leaned into that, and I was like, hey, so what are the things that are tough? What are some highlights to your school, et cetera, et cetera? And then I just kind of came out to her and I said, hey, listen, the reason I'm asking you these questions is because I want to make sure that our youth ministries are serving you really well. And she just went, oh, no, hear me out. I love our youth nights. Like those are the highlight of my times, these Friday night Zoom calls and all that. And I was like, really? Like, I'm always so hard on them. Ask my leaders and I'm always second guessing and everything. And she's like, oh no, I feel so connected during those calls. So yeah, I mean, to me, you guys are probably feeling so frustrated with your own calls, but I guarantee that there's a student or two who is just thriving during those times.
Yeah, that's good. I'm going to go Sean and then Kirby.
Hey, everybody. Hope you guys are doing well. One positive I would say for me personally is just being able to figure out who the core group is in my youth ministry, who the students are that are showing up and haven't faded out. And what we've done is we've just poured a lot of energy and time into them and started to rebuild the culture. And as a result, we've started to build a student leadership team. And in the fall, we built a tech team. So now our students are involved in tech in the church, which is really cool. similar to what Carlo was saying, where the students are involved and they're a part of planning the services and all those kind of things. Just want to say, like, I can't stand Zoom as well, but like, if like 10 students show up, I find that those 10, I get to know them more than I ever have before. And that right there, like, as a result of the students that I'm pouring into and them saying, man, I miss this kid, I haven't seen my friend in so long. As a result, they have the passion to go out and get those kids back. And I'm not that youth pastor who's like, where have you been? My students are the ones that are actually trying to get kids to come to youth and get their friends to come. And so that has been a really big win. Another win, I would say, and this is something my boss, Jeff, he said, this is a great time to fail. This is a great time to try new things, because you're not set, you're not locked into a specific program and you can change the day, like it's online, right? So there's a lot of experimentation, and that can be a little frustrating at times, but I also find it freeing being able to, you know what, Fridays aren't going to work for this lockdown. We're going to move to Tuesdays. And as a result, you know, people are a little bit happier because they have more time on the weekend, and you have that freedom. And that's something that is a positive during this season.
Yeah, it's good. Go ahead, Kirby.
Yeah, some of the highlights for me is that the fact that I'm new. So in the beginning was a little bit negative, but now it's a little bit positive because I get to capitalize on the excitement that they have a new pastor they've been, you know, guessing and waiting for. So I'm capitalizing on the fact that I'm new and that they are excited, and so I've been able to create a momentum quickly for that. So now even I had a larger, maybe 2 times the number I have on Zoom now on I had live in person, but then I have it on Zoom. But now their excitement, they want to keep getting to know me and keep getting to know my style and what I'm bringing. And, you know, so that really helps, the fact that I'm new. So for anyone here who is newer or new as me, that's a good thing to capitalize on. Second thing, I know we all hate Zoom. I love Zoom. I'm very excited with Zoom. Zoom for me is the second best thing to in person. I'm a people guy. I really prefer in person. I would get excited. I'm able to walk around our little Revo hub and just be in their face kind of thing. But Zoom is the same as well. And I found that the youth can see that you don't want to be here. And one of the things that they make them come is because I'm excited about Zoom. I'm excited about the night. And so one told me that is, you know, I like the fact that you are so prepared and so ready for Zoom. And one thing I do, because I know they spend so much time playing, you know, especially the guys, they play video games. A lot of my youth are on YouTube. I mean, I think it's all the youth are on YouTube all the time. And so they look at other pastors, they look at other youth, they look at other churches, and they see the quality of what they are giving. So what I'm trying to do is to give a YouTube effect to my Zoom. So when they come on Zoom, I'm trying to make it like it's you coming to watch a live YouTube video. So my thumbnails I invested in that. I invested in lights and a microphone, so the audio quality is top. My camera, it's top. So I have another webcam, stuff like that. So I give a high quality. So when they come, they are attracted just to look at it and to hear it nice. I've upgraded my connection at home so I don't cut off and bug out when I share videos. So they are excited because of the level of preparation. So they know they're gonna come, they're gonna get great content, they're gonna see a great quality, and they're gonna see a guy who's excited to be on that Zoom. And you know, I don't want to down any leaders, but I've spoke with some, and I've seen some of the video that I've been part of, and they start by saying how hateful they don't like to be here, right? We all hate Zoom, and so right there we start with a down. We want to start with up, right? Say, hey, we're so happy to be here. We're using the second best thing that the world is using right now to make their money and to make the companies great. So we're using this to make our ministry great, and therefore they are becoming great. So I think that's the highlights for me, is that we are able to use that and use their excitement to make this exciting.
Yeah, that's really good. Yeah, I appreciate that. Carrie Ann.
Hi guys. So at Willowdale, we've had some shift in leadership. So for the beginning of the pandemic, I ran the youth group, and in September, we had John Ferreira take over. And I have to say that he is doing such a fantastic job. So here's my highlight is we were doing well as a youth group, but when John took over, he brought it to a new level. And when we prayed about it, and when my boss and I talked about someone taking over the youth, and I just knew that there needed to be someone new to come and kind of take over that role. And when John was available to do that, I was super stoked, and I just knew that he was going to take the group to the next level. And so in September, we started in person, and he grew the youth group by double. And he created a creative team, he created a media team, he created all these teams that when we had to go back to online, all continued and just made that Zoom experience that much better because he had started it before. And I'm just super excited about where the youth group is and where they're going. Now, I'm not going to say it's perfect. I'm sure he would say that as well. But I think that like the amount of kids that are just involved every Friday night, he's also started his discipleship on Thursdays. And there's so many kids that, have just been those kids that keep their screen off and just are just there, maybe because mom or dad said, or just because, they want to feel connected some way, but they don't want anybody to see them. They're getting involved more and they're doing more. And my highlight, it has nothing to do with me and everything to do with our new youth guy. And I feel like he's volunteering doing it. And he's a rock star, and I'm super proud of him. And anyways, that's all I have to say. But I'm excited for where the group is going to go. Also when we get to go back in person. So yeah, that's all I have to say.
Yeah, that's awesome. Thanks, Carrie Ann. I want to shift gears just slightly. Andrew brought up a great question in the chat, and I feel like it's a good thing for us to weigh in on, and that is for those of us, especially we've been talking, a few of you have mentioned, getting students involved in teams and stuff. What are some of the ways that you're connecting and strengthening or even building your leadership team? So we all, or many of us, run youth ministry through the help of volunteer leaders and people who have joined. How are you connecting with them? What are you doing to help strengthen them and grow them as a team? Go ahead, Kirby. You were the first one to raise your hand, so you get to go first.
What I do with my team, well, actually, the team that I've been given when I came, they were not youth, so they are young adults, and so I have one young adults, one married couple that are in my range. I'm married as well, and so with this team, what I do is that we have weekly meetings, like the Tuesday before the Thursday. We meet every week. And what I do with them is I'm a student of leadership. I love growing in my leadership. So I inspire them on their leadership growth, and I pour into them so they can be inspiration as well in Revo night, in the youth night. I always say, what I try to do is that, like, when we were in person, I said, while I'm in front and you are in the people, the gathering, they are an extension of myself. So they are as much as leaders as I am, kind of thing. So I always, every week, it's an inspiration time and motivation for my team. And so I trained them into ministry. Like I don't remember who was saying this, but for my team, I told them that this is their ministry, right? So to use their testimonies, their flexibility, and whatever God puts in their heart to minister to one of those youths. We have 50 when we were live, so I won't minister to 50 of them in one night. I'm going to target up to 5. So we are 4. We can do multiply. So for me, it's a time of discipleship training, inspiration, and of course planning for the night.
Yeah, that's awesome. Go ahead, Ethan.
Yeah, for my leadership team, this kind of goes back to the first lockdown. The biggest thing for us was like every time after youth on Zoom on Friday nights, we would end up just like praying together. And that was actually something that we ended up doing far better online than we ever did in person. And I think that really drew us together because it was just a touch point every week where it was like, okay, where are you guys at? Because I know that like they're going through it too. I know that they're, dealing with like family issues. They're dealing with, the stress of everything that's going on, just as much as, the kids and myself and everyone else is. Right. And so for us, it was just like, okay, where are you at? Like, what's going on? Like, how can we help you? How can we pray for you? Like, do you need anything from like either myself, the church, or like, how can we just be pouring into you guys so that when you guys come on Friday nights, you're not like dreading being there. And it's like, you're filled up as a person first. Like, you're not just like a youth leader to me. You're not just someone that like I'm using on Friday nights to, get, this thing done. But it's like, you're there as someone that I care about, personally first. And so it's like just building them up in that way, praying for them, like just genuinely building those relationships first, especially as we're going through this. Cause it's like, I see that they're tired some nights. Like I see that, they're going through it. And so it's like, they always know that it's like at the end of the night, it's like, yeah, we're going to talk about that. And we're just going to sit on that. We're going to pray together. We're going to make sure that's like you guys are cared for. And then just like an outpouring of that, each and every week, because like then they're pouring into the students because, obviously our students are going through it right now. And so it's like, they're filled up, they're praying for them, they're, paying that forward. And so it's just been cool to see them step up after that. And then just like, as we're doing it, I mean, one of my leaders even brought it up. They're like, hey, yeah, we've been doing this so much better online. Like we got to keep doing this when we're back. And so that's been really encouraging to see. And then the other thing is just like, I'm getting them to just plan stuff. And it's like, hey, like, this night you guys are going to be going with your like small groups, like our breakout groups and stuff. You're just going to be doing fun stuff with them. They're dropping stuff off to the kids, because like they've actually taken that step up during this where it's like, hey, I want to connect with them personally. I want to make sure that's like I'm pouring into them outside of youth even. And so that's been really cool to see. But yeah, that's basically what we've been doing.
That's awesome. That's really good. Go ahead, Carla.
My furnace broke last night, so I promise you I don't normally look like a hermit the whole time. I want to echo what Ethan just mentioned of taking time to connect with your leaders outside of a ministry context. I find that some of my best conversations with them is when it has nothing to do with what they can do for the church. And it shows, and I'm not necessarily the best at it for sure. I definitely miss the mark. But I'm trying to work towards a relationship with the leaders that it's not, they're just doing me a favor on Wednesday nights. But like they actually have their own call from God to be there to serve, whether I'm the youth pastor or not. And so that's been a big win of just connecting with them on a friendship level. And a majority of them are young adults. So we get many chances before the lockdown to hang out anyways. But that was a big win of keeping them involved, especially after this last year. I think I should clarify too. Personally, I'm not against Zoom. I'm not anti-Zoom. In fact, we actually still do it. Just in our context, I was pretty burnt out on Zoom, and I'm sure a lot of people are feeling that still now too. So I'm not saying that it's a bad option or not a good idea to do. Just for our context, it was not working anymore. But anyways, the leader thing, I just loved. I love being able to connect with them outside of how are you connecting with students, but just them personally. How are you doing? How can I pray for you? There was even a leader of mine that ended up getting COVID. So making sure I was checking in with them every day and seeing how they were doing. And is there any financial stress, because they would give up their Wednesday nights, and they were basically losing their jobs like multiple times throughout the year. They would get one and they would lose it because of COVID. They'd get one and they'd lose it because of COVID. So just seeing how they were doing on a personal basis before a ministry basis has just been good. It's definitely been healthy for building their leadership. Yeah.
Yeah, that's really good. It's definitely it can be. I know, and I'll just weigh in a little bit. I know when I was a youth pastor, I always felt like, man, if the only time I'm having a conversation with this leader is when I need something, that's not right. Like, I need to make sure that I'm investing in them as a person. I love what you were saying there, Carlo. And just actually connecting with them on and about their life and what they're doing, and trying to you know, actually show them that we care, because we do, is so important. Now, that was pre-COVID, so things were a lot easier, and we used to do after youth was over, we'd go out for like, we called it after hours, and we'd go, usually it'd be Krabby Joe's, and we'd do half price apps or whatever. They'd pay themselves, I wouldn't pay for them, although occasionally I'd buy nachos, but like, and then just hang out and chat about life and whatever. It was really, really important. I just wanted to, we only have a few more minutes, and I do want to move on, but I want to draw a little bit of attention to something Katie posted in the chat, if you haven't seen. And Katie, I'm going to invite you to just share what you shared there, and then invite maybe some of you to just to share a response and how you would respond to it. So Katie Cochran, I know you're here somewhere, and sorry to call you
I'm
out,
here.
but if you can share what you posted, that'd be great. I mean, everybody can read it, but say it anyway.
So I'm like extremely new in my role, to the point that like I moved into this role in the middle of the pandemic. And so I really only know 3 of our youth, 2 of which live next door to me. And so like, I don't have a youth group necessarily. And so I've been praying to God and going, okay, God, well, like, how do we meet in person and start to build these connections when I'm a stranger to all of these kids other than 3? So I was like, okay, God, what do I do? And he's like, well, why don't you invest in your foundation before you even start investing in students? Invest in the people who are going to partner beside you, and kind of like this upside down pyramid, because like you guys have talked about, your leaders are some of the people who are running your ministry. They're running your tech, they're running your social media accounts. They're the ones that are touching base with kids throughout the week. And so I'm like just in the beginning process of starting to chat with people, and as we kind of craft what our ministry is going to look like post pandemic, or even in the middle of pandemic, getting some leaders on board and invested in the vision behind what we're going to do before we even have kids to really invest in, so that they already have some buy-in, they're already a part of the plan before kids even come into the picture.
Yeah, and I think that's so wise. You know, it's a little bit of the like, have something to invite a student to before you start inviting students, right?
Exactly.
And the like, I remember the last transition I had into youth ministry. It was like a very, like, things were good as far as the youth ministry itself, and I was like, what am I going to bring to this? How am I changing the direction? And the first thing that God laid on my heart was really about the leaders, and about pouring in and investing in the leaders. And then that allowed me to actually grow the youth group and grow relationship and do everything. But it was like, I had a foundation to do that. So for those of you that, and I appreciate Justin getting people to shout out if they've transitioned in the pandemic, but you're like, yeah, that's a great place to start, and a great place to begin. So definitely want to encourage those of you who are brand new, and part of you know, I used to do this with students all the time. Part of what I'm trying to do here that I'm not explicitly telling you is I'm trying to build the community. I'm trying to help you feel, for those of you who are in a position where you're like, I don't know, I'm not really sure, the hope is that something from this conversation, someone from this conversation kind of sparked an idea, or sparked a, hey, I think I'd like to talk to that person a little bit more, and really build. There are people who've walked a lot of these roads and can offer you insight. And that doesn't mean they're experts and that they know everything, but I do think we have a lot of wisdom when we come together, and we can strengthen and encourage different youth ministries. And that's part of what I want to see in what we're doing. And that was the secret purpose of this call, is like growing a little bit. And so I do have a couple of just quick announcements for you. And then what I'm going to do, I'm going to give you a couple quick announcements. Then I'm going to send you into breakout groups. And I know we only have like 4 minutes, so I'm going to go quick through the announcements. And I'd love to have you just, it's going to be random groups. I'd love to have you just pray with each other. And if you got to go at 11, that's great. Make it like 30 seconds prayer or whatever, and then go. But I also wanted to, just at least have you have an opportunity to connect with somebody that might be outside of your circle, say hi, that kind of a thing. So a couple of quick announcements. Number one, our next Zoom call that we're going to be hosting is on Wednesday, February 10th. We have Jeff Johnson and Trisha Gibb joining us, and they're going to be talking, for those of you who were looking at joining us for Time Out, which got canceled. They were 2 of our speakers, and so we're inviting them to share on the topic of Selah and a little bit about what that looks like in the life of a pastor. And so some of these calls, we're going to start doing them like monthly. And so some of them will be discussion like this. Some of them will invite people in to talk. It's kind of just trying to grow that support network that I believe is what we are trying to do. The second thing is, if you haven't, we have a Next Gen Church update form stack. So it's a form where you fill out and you talk about who's doing what roles at your church, and it really just helps us stay in contact with what's going on. If you haven't filled that out yet, you will. If you're on our mailing list, you're going to get an email later today, and it'll be in there. So please take the time to fill that out. That's really helpful for us. And then the last thing is kind of the biggest announcement is just, and I'm going to do like 1 minute, but we are rebranding. So as youth, we've been youth ministries for a number of years, and some of you have already heard, but we're looking to shift focus. We really want this kind of a thing, being able to support local youth ministries and local youth pastors is our priority. And so we're rebranding, going with new logo, new website, new everything. We're changing our name from Youth Ministries, and I can talk later about why I felt we needed to change it, but we're becoming what's called the Student Collective. And so you'll get an email. There's an email going out today. The website's going live. All that stuff is happening. That is our slogan, Sean, is make youth great again. Not so much, but we are shifting focus. There's a little video that'll be in the email and stuff. And you can also visit us at studentcollective.ca. And see the video if you don't get the email. All right. Thank you so much for joining us. I'm really sorry that we have to cut it off, but I really do want to be respectful of your time. Nicole's going to throw you into your breakout groups. You've got like 2 minutes to just maybe say a quick prayer with each other, say hi, and then you can go. So I'm just talking until Nicole does that. So go ahead, Nicole. I assume you're still here. I haven't seen her disappear, but I only see like 5 names across the top. So